this video today because I am a spiritual guide and a teacher. I wanted you to meet one of the people that I have taught over the years. Her name is Prentice on TikTok. Her handle is Tarot P, Tarot _ capital P, and she reads tarot there. She practices for the collective, and tonight we're going to do interview style for teacher pupil, because she's going to be on her way to being a teacher soon. I'm incredibly proud of her, and some of this we're going to talk about today is the things that she's encountered on her spiritual journey, some of the things she's learned in the last maybe 2-3 years, the ups and the downs, ins and outs, the goods and the bads. I wouldn't say bads. I don't like saying that word. I say the goods and the challenges. Without further ado, welcome Tarot P. Hi. So, what is the most important thing you feel you've learned thus far on your spiritual journey? And I'm starting with a biggie.
I know, I'm like
from little ones in between the way.
Like,
Wait, the reason why I'm asking you that one is because I want to see if you can figure out that sometimes it's the small things that matter. Or maybe think about one of the smaller things that later on gave you an epiphany that kind of grew something in you.
So, for me, my spiritual awakening, like many, did happen during 2020. Specifically during the last Venus retrograde, and it was very difficult. But if I had to pick one major lesson, and this is spirituality, period. And I say this very often, and sometimes I say it very lightheartedly, but I always mean it, is that the answer is always love. If you are dealing with somebody that you're battling with, be it an ex, a coworker, a friend that you're struggling with, and even yourself, the answer is literally always, hands down, love. Now, love does not mean allowing yourself to be pushed over or taken advantage of. Love is respecting yourself or others enough to accept boundaries, respect, and all of the things that if you were in love with somebody, you would give them. And that's not necessarily always spiritualism per se, but just your heart.
I have a great example of this, by the way. That involves her now. You're going to have to excuse me. I'm going to fix my hair. I believe Ramon Hun. I can't be uncute on camera. And this one has a Libra stellium. Just cute on top of cute. Anyway, so when she was about to embark on her spiritual journey, awakening, a lot of stuff was going on with Black Lives Matter. And I know you don't super love this experience, but it's a teachable moment, yes? Okay.
And wasn't always a genius.
Okay.
It's okay.
And so I was an advocate for the people who were protesting abuse in an institutionalized way, and I have experienced in my own life a lot of that stuff, and it's stuff that I don't always share with my friend here, and because I don't want to make that a part of every aspect of my life. And so when I'm hanging out with her and having fun, I'm not going to bring up the fact that I just experienced racism at my job. I just experienced racism at my school. I know a lot of people who in prison right now on false charges. I've seen people be abused in different ways by the system. I'm not going to bring that up when we just chilling and being homegirls, right?
Yeah.
But I do expect the people in my life. At that time, I had expectations of people. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
But I did expect the people in my life because I know she has a good heart. So from what I experienced of her, to understand that struggle.
Right. And we've been friends for over a decade. So this is not like a new, like...
It wasn't a new friendship.
She's prior to spiritual awakening.
Right.
Me.
And so when it was all going down, she had this like cutesy Instagram post with her wine. We love our wine glasses, don't we? And it's just like something to the effect, I don't remember the exact words.
I'll tell you.
What?
So it was right when, like, after the Floyd stuff had already happened and like all the protests were starting. So this was like maybe 2 or 3 days after. And I was in an elevator. I was in Florida visiting my friend, and she mentioned I have a lot of Libra placements, which is like conflict avoidance. So I posted, not that that's okay. So I posted something to the effect of, the world is falling apart and I'm over here like...
Yeah, so it was, something like that. So I took it as you just making light of the situation, and it must be nice that you can just sit there and sip your wine. Well, I know my brothers and sisters in the street fighting. I know that I am a safe haven for them whenever they need. I know that I've experienced injustice in my life. I know that it's more than overdue for this kind of righteous rage. And I'd love to have advocates, and I thought you were one. So it really just like kind of hurt me. Like I was already... To be fair, I was already in a lot of wounding at the time. So that's just kind of like, I ain't got no filter, nothing left for nobody. And so I literally just, Queen of Swords, told homegirl a new one. And I was just like, I ain't having it. And I crushed her in a lot of ways. And if had I known the impact on her, maybe wouldn't have gone as hard in the paint. I will not tell y'all what I said. It was not kind. But maybe a day later, I think it was.
So I was already planning to come visit her.
I didn't notice.
Where she lived. No, you did.
Did I know?
I think you did.
I don't think I did. No.
Regardless, I don't know why she doesn't know I was planning. So I was going to come visit her already. And so when she did this, so keep in mind from a spiritual perspective, like your higher self already knows shit. Oh my God. I'm not allowed to say bad words, am I?
I cuss on here all the time.
Okay, fine. I'm going to try not to say bad words. But your higher self already, regardless of whether or not you're spiritual or not, it knows things that you don't know. So what my human, and I say human like your
3D self.
Okay. I was unaware that I was about to go on a spiritual journey, that I was about to have a dark night of the soul, that everything that I knew was about to like fall apart, deconstruct, and rebuild. But there was a part of me that knew that I needed to be with this one. So when she did that to me, I had like a mini fall apart moment. One, on the 3D side of things, I knew that I had done or said something to hurt my friend. And I didn't like that. But my 5D self may have felt like I had put myself in a position to not be where I needed to be when I needed to be there, by having burnt a bridge. Now I as it turned out, I didn't burn a bridge. So when she said these things, instead of reacting from a place of like, F you, how dare you say these things to me, I had like a brief moment where I kind of like withdrew, cried a little bit, felt some kind of way about it. And then I, rather than run away from dealing with that uncomfortable situation, which unfortunately is a lot easier to do. You know, sometimes it's a lot easier just to write friendships off or write relationships off than to like accept that what you might have said, even if like it didn't, it didn't come from a crap place. If it hurts somebody, like it's not the end of the world to like take responsibility for it. And like whether that's spiritualism or not, like, for me, I see spiritualism very much with like just being a kind and decent human and loving strangers, friends, family, all alike. So I, the same day,
yeah,
I didn't sit on it for a long time. Addressed it. Hey, what's going on? What's happening? This is what I meant by it. But this is what I didn't mean by it. I take responsibility for what I said. I pulled the post down right away. And I felt very panicked, but I addressed it right away. Like,
And at that point, when she called me, I was kind of confused. I'm gonna lie, y'all, because I'm kind of stars on fire. So I am Aquarius. If people who know about zodiac and astrology, if you don't, you still don't understand this story. But those who do, I'll just make it clear. I'm an Aquarius, Sun and Mercury, as well as a Sagittarius rising. When I get to a point where I'm like, I'm done with the fuck shit, I will cut hard and deep. I'm better at dealing with that type of energy now. But at that time, I was still kind of processing more of my kinder side, even when I'm angry part. And so I love her. And so but the way I am is, once I say my piece, I don't hold no grudge. That's it. I just needed to get it out. I'm not mad at you anymore. That's it. It's over. She didn't know that part. So to her, I was still angry. When she called me crying, I was very confused.
I was crying a lot.
Like, she was hard crying. I was like, what is going on? I thought somebody had died. There was a car accident. I need to come and bail her out of prison. I'm like, what do you need? Who hurt you? Who would I need to kill? And she was like, I don't want to lose my friend. And I realized that I hurt you because you never talked to me like that before. And it's true. In a decade, I've never talked to her like that before. And she's like, you've never reacted like that before to me. You've never, and I never would want to make you feel like anything less. And of course, I understand in some part of me what that experience is like for you to experience from, any vantage point. I understand it from an empathetic way. I couldn't understand it from living it. And I'm starting to understand. The fact that I don't understand it from living it is why I posted that and not thinking about trying to hurt anybody. I just didn't want to be a part of aggression. I wish everybody just loved each other. And my response to that at the time was something to the fact that, but they don't. My people are constantly getting killed, and it seems like you took light of it. I'm not angry with you. I would like to educate you at this point if I could, but I don't want to do that right now. Right now, I just want my friend not to be sad. I want my friend not to be crying.
Well, initially, you were like, I think you were overwhelmed by the fact that I faced it head on versus like, I'm just gonna like creep out and like wait for the storm to blow over. So I think initially, like, because I think originally it was by text, and you were like, let me like,
I need some time. Let me process.
So like someone is actually like coming to me.
And trying to see why I was pissed off.
Right.
Because normally when I get to that point, it has been my experience that people run and they stay gone. They're like, well, she's going to kill me now. So that's it. I'm like, no, I just needed to get out. This is something I learned from Chappelle's show, Charlie Murphy. Shout out to him in heaven. Habitual line steppers. And in my life, I've experienced habitual line steppers, and I love them and love them and love them. And then once it's like a last line, and I'm just like, oh, that's it. But I don't hate you after that. It's just that your bill has come due moment, and then I'm over it. But most people who get the bill come due for me, keep going. They don't come back. They don't try to figure it out. They don't figure out why I went apeshit at that moment. Not that it's their responsibility to help me heal whatever it is. I take responsibility for that every time. But it was never something I experienced. She was the first person that ever came back and was like, what can we do about this? I love you. Even though this is very intense and sometimes you scare the shit out of me, I get that a lot. I feel like you love me more than you would ever hurt me. So let's see what we can do about this. And I'll be honest, she stumped me, y'all. She really did. And I appreciate the hell out of that because it showed me, oh, this one's strong. This one's stronger than I could have ever imagined her to be. I knew it was in her, but everybody got to activate the way they activate, hun. It doesn't mean that I personally get to abuse people at my will. And that's something I've been working on for a long, long time, because I realize how intense that can be sometimes for people. How intense I can be when I get angry and upset. I can't remember last time I got angry, upset to that degree. But maybe I figured out a way to have more people like this around me, but also figuring out my own shit and realizing you come on a little strong when you pissed off, said. Figure out why you're doing that. And I figured out my shit. But she was one of the people that helped me do that through starting what we're talking about right now, this story. Instead of running from each other, instead of hating each other, instead of me assuming she was a bigot, a racist secretly. Because a lot of people who of color have friends that hold opinions of people of color that are negative, but think you just one of the good ones. I've had that experience a lot. And I didn't think that of her at the time. I was just angry and upset that she would even do that. Because I'm like, your privilege. I get to experience your privilege through, my experience right now. And I don't think you fully get it or understand. Let me help you understand that. And the way I used to do that is like, pull out the sword of fire and slice your ass in half. And that's not always the highest vibration, guys. That should be the absolutely last result. And then I realized something about myself. She taught me that day that when you do something like that, there is no opportunity to educate or love. And like she said, the answer is always love.
I agree. So at the time, I was not yet spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
I had just recently separated from my now ex-husband, and I had had a very intense relationship with the person after that had also failed. I was not in a good place. Mm-hmm. And she had mentioned before things like shadow work, and I was like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, we're gonna
one day I'm gonna make an appointment sometime, or I'll just talk to you about it and see more about it one day. I never chase nobody for this stuff, y'all, because I know when they're ready, they'll come to me.
Right. And I again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, like there's a 3D and a 5D self, and I think that there was a part of me that knew that was something that needed to happen, and she did not lie. She mentioned that shadow work was very difficult, and I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine with it.
She was so ambitious. It was cute.
Yeah. So, I did wind up, we patched things up. I came to see her. She showed me some tarot card things, and it was very surface level. And then I had in June of 2020, the ex after the ex told me some things that threw me into the dark night of the soul and the spiritual awakening. And if you don't have other friends, which I didn't except this one, to help you get through those things, it's very challenging. And fun fact, that was during a Venus retrograde, and I am a Taurus with 4 Libra placements. So on top of just the fact that it was I was long overdue for a spiritual awakening, that was a thing. And I vividly remember standing in my kitchen telling this one, after I had cried on the floor for hours, shoving a half of a watermelon down my throat, through my face. I don't want to ever live through another Venus retrograde. And I'm Googling on my phone, oh my god, these things happen every 18 months. I don't want to be alive for the next one.
That was totally the vibe, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna sit here and pretend that I was that was a beautiful time.
No, you didn't open up like a beautiful butterfly chrysalis. No, it was ugly and gritty. And and I told her terrible. Look, bruh, you gonna go low key crazy. You gonna feel all kinds of things. You gonna also be learning things that you had no idea existed. On top of dealing with old wounds from childhood, your dreams are going to get really, really fucked up in a way that, you might need to seek some mental health care. We need to dive in and also give you tools to cope and equip yourself. And she's when I told her about it first, she's like, I totally got this. I've had like a whole lot of, hardships in my life, and I'm going to calm down. And I'm like,
my mom sucked.
And so it's like, my mom was totally so rough on me. And I'm like,
but I love her.
Yeah.
She had her own wounding, just to be clear.
Right. And so I was just like, this baby don't have any idea what's about to come to her. So I made myself available whenever she would text me or call me, because I felt it coming. I make no bones about it, and I'm not going to do it here. I've had to do it my entire life because I've been told by clergy, and I'll be clear about this. We're talking about the spiritual journey, y'all. We ain't pulling no punches. I've been told by clergy. I've been told by school counselors. I've been told by psychologists. I've been told by psychiatrists that psychic abilities don't exist. Extrasensory gifts don't exist. And I'm like, but that's been my experience. I've been told by my family that that's not something I should pay attention to. Ignore the thing behind the veil. And I refuse to do that anymore. But because I started to refuse to do that, I started meeting more and more people like me that have these difficulties and never been embraced, never been loved on, never been told that it's okay to say, I dreamed that this thing's going to happen, and it happened. And it really messed with me emotionally, helped me cope. Or I just randomly was driving in my car and suddenly a vision hit me and I knew a thing was going to happen. It's not been something that I had the freedom to be able to express to anyone in my life and not be judged. And so once I started to realize that that was a niche market, and I don't say market, I don't mean like selling it, but a niche area that nobody in the field that I study was actually paying attention to or taken seriously. It's like, oh, you're schizophrenic. Oh, you need to go get on meds. Oh, you need to this and that and it. No, I don't want to numb it anymore. I just want to embrace it, and I need assistance with coping with it. It's hard, god damn it. And so once I embarked on understanding psychology, myself, my family bloodline, when I say bloodline, my family's issues, emotionally, mentally, spiritually even. Because my grandmother revealed to me that she was psychic, but she couldn't talk to nobody about it. I'm telling y'all this from a personal perspective. She was, institutionalized a couple times, and so was my mother. And I was like, oh, I don't want that to happen to me, so we don't just keep on working on me and denying these things, being on medication, of course, and make sure they're numbed because something's wrong with it. And I've learned to embrace that. It took me a long time to embrace it, and I want to help others do the same. If they had those extrasensory gifts, but also, even if they didn't, and there's some part of themselves that they would like to open up and be honest about, I'd be able to do that as well. And she's one of those people that went on the journey from start and told herself all the truths, no matter how hard it was. And even the ones that had her on the floor, calling me crying, barely able to understand her English, eating watermelon and screaming, I can't live like this. Because I know what that feels like. The screaming into the ether, into the black, wishing for something to scream back to say it's okay or to just end it all. I know what that feels like. I never want somebody to be alone with it. Sis here has been through it, but many people have. What we're talking about today is a spiritual journey. Doesn't mean that it has to be lonesome. You don't have to be alone. I'm not saying that I'm the person you must select to help you with this, because there's many people who know how to do this. I mean, look them up, I guess. But I can tell you from our experience that maybe you something you can learn here. There's a lot of topics in spirituality that people either refrain from talking about or they go just to the surface level. And it's something I said, a little graphic I saw in my master's program when I was doing clinical mental health. There's a glacier underneath there. The surface level is because you're afraid of judgment. The surface level is because you're afraid of being ostracized. And I'm not doing that anymore. And she's not either.
Right. Well, what I would like to say about this one in particular is, on, be it TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, this idea of spiritualism. And yes, I'm a Libra, so I like to buy things. But there's this idea that like spiritualism is buying crystals, it's doing yoga, it's going to retreats, it's, buying all of the tarot cards. It's buying a lot of things to appear a certain way. But again, that is from from a looking glass of like a wounding. It's like you have to seem a certain way or act a certain way to be a certain way. But with this one, like, she's not interested in, the smoke and mirrors of spiritualism. So she didn't initially like attack me and my traumas with like, oh, if you get like a clear quartz, it's gonna like clear up all the things. Or like, oh, like if you go and like join a gym and like do these yoga, like you'll be fine. Like, first of all, like this one. But like she works from like the core of your like being, she's not like these things and these images and these perspectives are gonna like heal you. She's like, look.
I'm gonna love everything about this. I've never heard her say anything about how she experienced it on her end.
She's like, this is gonna be hard. This is not gonna be your favorite. And I can laugh about this now because like I've been through it. So shadow work. Like I got this book on Amazon and I ordered it, and I'm very much this woman has been my friend for over a decade. So while she directed me, she guided me, but I didn't want to feel off-putting to her. Again, that's a wounding of my own. Mm-hmm. I'm a Capricorn moon, so I was supposed to be a mom before my time. Which you'll learn if you keep following her, these things. So I started doing shadow work. And I tried to do it on my own.
I mean, there's some people out there who've done it on their own.
But you can. You absolutely can. And trying to do it on your own is better than not trying to do it at all. But that being said,
I wouldn't if I could have a choice.
Right. But if you have, like, you can't get in with her, you don't have medical insurance to get into a therapist while you're trying to do this, you don't have a good support group. Like, if you buy a shadow work book, I would also recommend that you also buy a work on like or book on self-love, because shadow work is basically going into your soul and digging out the parts that like humans have deemed to be negative traits, negative attributes, negative things, which basically your soul has built up in order to protect you from like the hurts of the world. And they're not bad. They're just perceived in our very 3D reality to be bad. Oh my God, you're so proud right now, right?
So proud.
But it's hard because you are so built up by where we are now to believe these certain things. So shadow work, again, be it through a book or through someone that can actually get you through it, is very difficult because you're basically having to go within and deconstruct what you see and what you think the whole world sees as negative attributes within you. Figure out where they came from. You know, is it a parental wound? Is it a relationship wound? Is it a work wound? Is it like, where did it come from? And you almost have to go far back and be like, oh, this is a parental wound. Well, why did they do that? And then you have to like go back and be like, oh, well, my dad's parents were shitty.
Mm-hmm.
So like he couldn't do that. So basically you're going back and you're going back and you're going back and you're like having to like forgive the people
who hurt them. You gotta forgive yourself, forgive your mom, forgive your dad, forgive their parents, forgive their parents, forgive their parents, and then love the shadow. Love every aspect of the thing that you used to hurt yourself and other people, so that you don't give it to anybody else.
Well, and understand that you're also using it as like a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So like your shadows aren't there to be shadowy. It's there to like protect you. So like while you may think that you being a detached person in relationships is a shitty personality trait, well, maybe your parents didn't give you the love that you needed. So, but because maybe their parents were detached. So you have to like understand that like, oh, this isn't a bad personality trait. It is a protective personality trait, and not work necessarily to eradicate it, but allow yourself to integrate that personality trait into who you are, to allow it to like continue to protect yourself, but also understand when you're employing it necessarily and when you're employing it unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm. That's the point. Like I say, like she said it complex. Proud of you. So for people who speak plain, simply put, either your ego, and that shadow is built of a lot of ego, is to protect you. So look at a metaphor of a gun. If you are a person who carries one of those, walking around with it, okay, but shooting it every single time somebody sneezes is probably not good practice. Not probably, it's not good practice. So if you're constantly prickly, constantly ready to fight, constantly ready to go, it's like that phrase, I wish a motherfucker would. I walk around all day wishing a motherfucker would. If you walk around like that, you're not a badass. You're a very wounded person and lives in fear. Ego's overactive. And it's time for some shadow work, hon. Because you don't feel safe. Ever. Even when it is safe. And we need to, like, that's the part where you need to dig underneath and try to figure out what that is. What is that that's causing you to feel like you got to be the best at everything? You got to beat everybody. What is it that makes you feel like the first person who says something negative to you, you got to cut their head off? What is it that's causing that? Because you don't have to respond. You don't have to react to everything. You can respond by nothing. And some people don't even know that you can respond with 0 things. Respond with 0 things. Or send them love anyway and keep living your best life.
And sometimes that non-response
is a response.
Is the most impactful response.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that being said, like I went through this very dark period where I called this one frequently.
We'll call it frequent.
And she had nothing but love. And it's because she'd been through it. And because she had seen many people through it. I was not, I mean, in the way of like, oh, people are unique and different. But like, I was not a unique situation, generally speaking. It was difficult. And, you know, I did show up at her house after the conflict that we had, and this was before the full-on watermelon crying.
Mm-hmm.
And she started to show me tarot. And, you know, prior to all of this, I had like a very general, like sun sign knowledge of astrology. But she started to give me direction towards certain things that I could follow to learn more about things. So, you know, tarot and astrology, a lot of people do view them as like, well, especially astrology, like a pseudoscience, or like, oh, like the craft, or like, you know, there's just this like image of what like tarot and astrology are. But in reality, these things, which I didn't even know at the time, are delightful tools to help you help yourself. She mentioned, my TikTok handle, tarot_P. And the little tagline is like, you can use these, I don't know what it is exactly, but the premise is like, you can use these things to help guide you towards helping yourself achieve something better. And her thing is not so much like, follow me, do what I say, believe what I believe. It's very much like, hey, I'm gonna help you get to a place where you are confident enough within yourself that you can start following your path. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't look like my path, that's fine. And in fact, if you want to tell me about your path, maybe her, might learn something. She's not done learning, and that's a very refreshing thing about having her as a teacher. Like, I don't necessarily, and sometimes I do because that's a wounding that I have, there's nothing on her, feel like I have to follow her 100%. But she has not done anything to make me feel that way. That's a wounding that I have that I'm working on. But in reality, like, she's always been very open and clear about the fact that she understands that she's not done learning things, and that she's excited to teach others and allow them to go outside of her, that particular framework that she gives you. Because spiritualism, unlike other structuralized faiths,
loosely,
we're not going to say anything specific. There's no like, you have to follow this book and you have to do X, Y, and Z. And like, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you won't get this. And if you do X, Y, and Z, you will get this. Like, for spiritualism, it's very much like, I don't know, like, what do you think? What do you feel here? What do you think you're here for? Where do you think you're from? Like, what do you want to do? What makes you happy? Mm-hmm. Like, as long as you become a decent human being and not a piece of shit, that's literally like,
that's it.
That's spiritualism. Like, let me put it in a box and like tie a bow on it. Like, be a decent human and not a piece of shit. And follow your heart. And the answer is always love. Boom. That's what we're going to put in the box. Mm-hmm. And this one is very like, that may not be how she words it, but like, she's not opposed to letting me feel comfortable. Her ego's not so big that like I'm on her channel saying this, and like, I don't know if she agrees with this or not. Well, yeah, she does. I was about to say. But like, her definition of spiritualism may be different than mine, but I don't really think it is, actually.
Just say the thing, girl. What you nervous about?
I'm not nervous about anything. She is okay with you interpreting things how your heart leads you to interpret things.
That's accurate.
And that's not like a common thing in teachers. Like I've had, like if you're just talking teachers, I've really only had like one or two teachers, and I'm talking like in like high school or like that actually like allow you to think for yourself versus like, oh no, Shakespeare did mean this, just to take it if we're comparing apples to oranges. But this one is like your heart tells you what it tells you. And that is spiritualism 101. Mm-hmm. And so it's been quite a journey, because it's like, if you are following those structuralized religions, you don't really get to grow, you just get to memorize. Versus like spiritualism is like, no. Like, high priestess, hermit, if you are a tarot reader and you're on this channel, like, what do you think? Mm-hmm. And that's what this one encourages you to do. And it's a beautiful thing, because it's like, like to be told that like you actually know what you're doing is so refreshing. It's not the standard practice in a teacher-student dynamic.
I've been my experience as well. One of my biggest challenges growing up, and even in my adult life, I'm being honest with you, is professors, teachers telling me this is the way, and this is the only way, and this is the way it's been done for a long time. It's been studied, it's been practiced, it's been, solidified in numerous this and that's and journals and studies. And I'm like, but I understand history. And as I told y'all previously, I was a weird kid. I looked at a lot of things just to know the difference between what is being told to me and what I understand to be true. And then somewhere in the middle there, I find my own way, like she was saying. And I would question things all the time. I got in trouble for this a lot. And I didn't stop doing it when I became grown. I distinctly remember there are certain points in my master's program, even in my undergraduate program, that my professors would just have disdain for me because I would ask questions. I would question their logic. But I'm here paying you to get a degree, and I can't question you. I can't question what is being told to me. That's a problem, though, because we're here to question you. And you're supposed to be able to find some kind of common ground between what you believe to be true and what I understand. At least that was my understanding. It's like, how are we all going to grow if we all just following you? What are we learning from this? I can read a book on my own. Give me some dialogue. Give me some feedback. Let's duel it out mentally and figure these things out. Because one of the things that I understood growing up being this weird child that I love is that if you just follow the leader and the leader happened to fall off a cliff, everybody falling off the cliff. But I also understand, based on history, that a lot of folk following what they're being told just because they're being told by someone who's an authority figure can lead humanity in general to do some really messed up things in the name of we're following orders and everybody is a part of this intermingling. And in order to be a good person, you must follow authority in some way. Well, again, I'm an Aquarius, so I'm not doing that no matter what the consequences are. To this day, right now, I can tell you, I don't have any woundings necessarily about it. I still feel some type of way because I know what's fair and what isn't. There's some things that I know that I've earned that was taken from me because I am this way. And I wouldn't change a goddamn thing. I'd do it again tomorrow if tomorrow I woke up and it was the beginning of whatever that was taken from me, I would do it exactly the same way. As a matter of fact, the person I am now, the confident woman I am now, I would have went harder in the paint on y'all. Just in case one of them watched this video. I want them to know that. But nothing but love for you too. But at the same time, I knew, then I doubted myself, even though some part of me knew it was right. Like you said, the higher self and the 3D self. It's a part of myself that led me to that. But I still had doubt in me. Now, the person I am now, based on what I've been doing, based on people like her, I know I wasn't wrong. I just didn't know how to do it. What am I looking for? Help me out. I'm usually really good about the oration of things. It's like I understood what I wanted to do and what energy I was vibrating out of. I didn't know how to implement it yet. I do now. I feel confident in myself now. There's a lot of things now that I am so confident in that there's literally nobody can come to me and tell me different. Not because I'm stubborn, and I am, but mostly because I found an area of self-love. What are you doing, woman?
It's true. She, even in the last year and a half, like through my spiritual awakening, she has grown immensely on her own as well. And if you are looking for somebody to help you on your spiritual journey, I would suggest getting somebody that is open to learning on their own as well. Someone that has been through things, someone that has also been where you are, and that is this person. For me, it's so much easier to learn from somebody that does have flaws,
Why would you? Oh, I have plenty. But I love them though. Like,
Yeah.
I love them. I don't necessarily embrace all my flaws. Like, you know what? This is just the way I am, and that's it.
Yeah.
No, I examine them. I'm like, wait a minute. Just like that, the story we started off with, right? Like, when she told me how hurt she was by what I said, it surprised me. It really did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still processing how I felt about it when she reacted. I'm like, I didn't even think she gave a shit. I wasn't used to people giving a shit when I have a reaction, to be honest. I'm not used to people, like I said, coming back and trying to resolve it either. I'm used to people running and staying gone. And so I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm going to have to move on with my life now. I don't think about you ever again in life, and that's it. But that's not what happened. She taught me, and that's always been happening. That's one of the most beautiful things about what I do now. So anybody who's ever interested in becoming eventually a teacher, which is this one's going to be, that's one of those things I will tell you. It's beautiful about this experience. You are constantly learning about yourself as well and learning new things through your students. And if one of the things I learned by being a teacher is that if you ain't learning from your students, then you're not a teacher. That's one of those things. And it's hard to explain that in words without it getting too lengthy. But learning from her and people like her made me a better teacher. And also made me a better person overall. Because one of those things I used to do is like, intimidation was like a big thing. It was one of my things I acted out of wounding. Intimidation, because I could do it. It's like, just because you can't do it doesn't mean you should. I'm very damn good at it. Why not? They're bad people. But just because they're acting like that, are you any better by reacting as opposed to responding? And I'm like, I'm teaching you guys to respond and y'all see me reacting. That makes me a hypocrite, and I didn't even realize I was doing that until my students told me.
And lucky for her, I'm a Taurus. And I'm also a fixed sign, like this stubborn Aquarius over here.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know if she mentioned in this video, but like Taurus energy is like it's a strong energy, but it's like a softer energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so even in a reactionary mode, it's not super aggressive.
Right. It's still very strong, but not super aggressive. The point is, of all of this we're telling you, really and truly, it's twofold. Hopefully y'all realize that, and we're going to do more videos. But hopefully y'all realize what we're doing right now. What we're doing right now is not trying to necessarily preach to you. We're demonstrating, modeling behavior for you all. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that want to have some different understanding of how you can operate. Is that even if there is a difference in experience, even if there's a difference in ideas, even if there's a difference in opinion, dare I say, the answer is love.
The answer is always love. And, you know, she and I don't always agree on things. Mm-hmm. We got into it a little bit over Christmas.
What did we get into it about? Oh, yeah, you told me to leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, which I had never done. And honestly, if I had not had this relationship with her and learned from her, you know, one of my things, having grown up with a very critical parent and having been married to a very critical person for 12 years, my astrological chart that I needed to progress, you know, she's not like super into structuralized religious ceremonies that have been distorted, whereas I've grown up with certain things and I'm not in a place where I'm ready to let those things go, because I am, you know, while I'm not Christian, I have certain attachments based off positive memories from growing up. You know, she said some things that like hurt my feelings, and 3 years ago I would have been like, I'm gonna slink away, pretend like she didn't say these things, even though my heart is so hurt.
Here's the thing, twofold I felt when she told me, leave me the fuck alone. Yes. I was like, one.
I've never spoken to this one like that.
When I was like low-key proud. I didn't tell her that until this moment.
No, you told me a little bit.
I was a little bit low-key proud. Second is like, people don't talk to me like that. And when they do talk to me like that, they don't get to talk to me again. But I'm like, wait, I love her. Even if she never wants me to be a teacher again, I love her. And it's like, so what does that love mean to me right now? What that love means to me right now, I need to examine how she felt in that moment. Even though I was speaking my truth, I still meant every word I said. Which is fine. But how it affected her, it's not an intention that I wanted. Right. So again, when I say order your steps, I ordered my steps at that moment. I was like, what's the outcome I want for this relationship right at this moment? The outcome is I don't want my friend to be hurt. The outcome is I want her to understand that I love and respect her.
And like a year and a half, or during the Floyd protest, I immediately apologized to her. To come full circle, guess what? She immediately responded very similar in energy the way that I responded the first time. And it took me a second. You know, I'm a single mom. I had to take my kid to Taekwondo, and like I didn't want her to think I was ignoring her. I had to be like, look, just give me a second. This is happening. And so I sent my kid into Taekwondo, and I called her, and like a year and 9 months ago, however long it was, when we were on the flip side of things, where I was the one that had offended her, now she was the one that had offended me, we were able to resolve it the same day. We did not, nobody ran away from the situation. The answer is always love. It's not comfort, it's love. And we fixed it. And I think that, you know, through that spiritual journey, like me being able to come to a place of like comfort and love of myself, and being able to stand up to someone that I super respected and loved, despite the, I don't know, it's complex. That's something that I've always struggled with. But like, she managed to get me, which is ironic because I wound up
using it on me. I tend to do that purposefully, but like I'm cheeky like that.
It was so beautiful at the same time, because I am not like that. I am totally like I'm just gonna like sit here and not do anything about it, and like absorb it and like feel the pain of it and whatever. But she managed, through all of the lessons that she taught me over the year and a half prior, to get me to a place where I felt comfortable enough to say, fuck you. And like, I'm not gonna lie, guys.
It felt good, didn't it?
Amazing.
I think we've made our point. We'll leave it there for the night.
We'll leave it there for the night.
Because we've almost to an hour, but I think hopefully you guys have been entertained.
But you too can tell people to go fuck themselves through your spiritual journey, you know what? If you take this one as your teacher.
I love you so much.
It's amazing. Have her as your teacher.
Punished.
It's great. It's the best thing ever.
And so I look forward to talking to you guys again. Like I said in previous videos, the next signs I'm coming up to read for, energy for, give some love to, is the Cardinals. And hopefully you enjoyed. If nothing else, been educated, understand some things. And me and this beautiful lady are going to talk about pretty much every aspect of the spiritual journey together in the next coming week, days, whatever. So hope y'all guys enjoy.
And also, if you guys want to laugh, go to TikTok to tarot_P. We just did, is your ex gonna return for Mercury retrograde for entertainment purposes?
It was hilarious.
We're funny.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night.